Hi everybody, it's me, Brittany. I'm so glad that you are joining me for Sunday School today. It's the start of a new month, which means that we have a new theme. Our word is Holy Week. Have you ever heard that term before? It's a special time in the Christian calendar. It's the 7 days between Palm Sunday and Easter that we prepare and move through all the events for Easter. So this month, we're going to talk about some of those stories. We've heard some of them in March, but we're going to keep moving forward. Let's open our box and see which story we're going to read today. Ooh, we've got our purple. It means that we're still in the season of Lent. Holy Week is a part of Lent. Do you remember what Lent means? Lent is the 40 days that we prepare for Easter. I've got our candle. We light it every week to remind us that God is always with us and that you have the light in you and I have the light in me. And anytime we share love with one another, God's light shines bright. Ooh, we've got a new thing to add to our timeline. I wonder what this has to do with our story. It looks like a man. He's touching his head like this, and there's a rooster in the back. I wonder what that has to do with our story today. If you remember, last month we heard stories about Jesus moving through the city of Jerusalem. I wonder if this takes place in Jerusalem too. It isn't a picture of Jesus, it's somebody else. Here's our story. It's called Peter's Denial. The crowd took Jesus to the high priest. Peter sneaked along, following Jesus. Peter sat in the courtyard while the leaders questioned Jesus. A servant woman came up to Peter and said, "You were with Jesus." Peter said, "No, I wasn't," to the woman and to everyone in the courtyard. "You don't know what you're talking about." Another woman saw Peter and said, "This man was with Jesus." Peter looked at her and said, "I do not know that man." The people standing there said to Peter, "You must be one of Jesus' friends. The way you talk gives you away." Then Peter cursed and swore, "I don't know the man." At that very moment, the rooster crowed, "Cock-a-doodle-doo." Peter remembered what Jesus had said. He said, "You will tell people you don't know me 3 times before the rooster crows." Peter ran out of the courtyard and cried. I wonder, why do you think Peter pretended he didn't know Jesus? I always find this story hard. We've heard all these stories about Jesus and his friends, and Peter is one of his closest friends. In fact, Jesus tells Peter that Peter will be the rock, the foundation of the people who follow the way of Jesus. And yet, Peter tells these people in Jesus' most vulnerable time, he doesn't know him. I don't think he was trying to be mean. I think he was afraid. Have you ever been afraid that if someone knew something about you, you'd get in trouble or you'd get hurt? That's what I think was happening to Peter. Jesus was praying in the garden, and the soldiers came and arrested Jesus and took him away. And that's where our story picks up. Peter followed Jesus, I think trying to be brave, but when people noticed he was there, he was afraid that maybe he'd be arrested too. Peter wanted to be brave. He told Jesus in the garden, "Whatever happens to you, it'll happen to me." But it doesn't. What have you ever done or not done out of fear? I know sometimes fear makes me not want to make new friends. Have you ever experienced that? Or sometimes I'm embarrassed that I am friends with somebody and I don't want anybody to know. Fear is supposed to keep us safe, but sometimes fear keeps us from doing what is right. What do you think Peter should have done differently in this story? Those are some great ideas. This week, I want you to think about how to live with bravery. Sometimes being brave is doing something. Sometimes being brave is not doing something. I want you to trust your bravery. Acknowledge that the fear is there because fear keeps us safe and we need it. But then move forward in God's love, trusting the bravery in you. Will you pray with me? Dear God, sometimes, just like Peter, fear keeps us from living the way you want us to. Help us choose to be brave over living in fear. Amen. Bye, everybody. See you next week.